Hello, and thank you for joining. My name is Michael Landaway, and I'm a researcher and a co-founder of Avanan, the cloud security platform. Corporate use of the cloud is accelerating. Companies trust more of their business to SaaS and infrastructure as a service. Where once corporations blocked access to the cloud, they're now embracing it as a strategic advantage, whether it's infrastructure as a service like Amazon, communication apps like email or Slack, collaboration tools like Office 365, or business applications like Salesforce or ServiceNow. There was a time that your business critical data was kept behind your perimeter, but now the center of gravity for your business just might be outside your firewall. The cloud has expanded the scope of your security requirements. For example, the cloud has freed your employees to work from anywhere, on a company laptop in Idaho or a personal iPhone in Europe. And with that freedom, they can be tempted to solve business problems on their own by signing up for SaaS services that you don't know about or don't approve, so-called shadow IT. In the same way, they may be tempted by all the third-party applications that are just sitting there in the App Store of the SaaS you've approved. This shadow SaaS might even be invisible to the user. They may not even know that they are connecting corporate resources to a third-party cloud. But what about the services you do use? Many of those are designed to integrate with one another, but there are some connections that you may not want to approve. In any case, these inter-cloud integrations are nearly invisible data flows that you must manage, monitor, and secure. Now, while you've been expanding your cloud, so have your partners, customers, and collaborators. Some might connect directly to your SaaS via, for example, a shared folder. But it is very possible that they would like to collaborate directly by connecting their SaaS accounts to yours. For example, opening a Slack channel between business groups. Now, while you may approve of some, others might put data at risk. Again, these are connections that you must manage, monitor, and secure. And all of this is before considering the greatest concern: bad people doing bad things both outside and inside your accounts. So what can you do to secure all of these data flows? Your first option is to rely on the built-in security for each of the SaaS you've approved. Now, while it is true that SaaS vendors have built world-class infrastructure from the network layer up to their application layer, few offer any type of security above the basics. Only a handful offer any type of malware protection, and even fewer provide data leakage policy or other compliance controls. In fact, if you read your SLA, even those that do offer some protection, they only offer it on a best effort basis. Ultimately, you are 100% responsible for the behavior of your users and the security of your data. Now, you might consider installing a client on every device. In fact, I would recommend it, but it should not be your only line of defense. You may not be able to install it on all devices, and really it only protects the desktop, leaving the data in the cloud exposed. And the most common solution is some sort of proxy, but this is now outdated. Not only is it a bottleneck for your users, it is blind to all the other data channels that you now have to manage and secure. It might offer a false sense of security against the insider threat, while offering little for the data in the cloud. Now, you might wonder why I've included an MTA gateway in the list of cloud security options. These are the same solutions that a company would use if they hosted their own email in the data center. But when companies move their email to the cloud, they often consider an email gateway because, frankly, there was no other option for securing cloud-based email. CASBs just don't offer that capability. Unfortunately, email gateways only protect an inbound email and sometimes outbound email, but they can't see internal email and have not kept up with the other ways that people are communicating today. It's just as easy to share a confidential file or malicious URL via Slack as it is via email. So this was the state of the industry when Avanan came to market, which is why we took an entirely different approach to solving the cloud security problem. So I'd like to take a couple minutes to introduce Avanan's cloud security platform. If you remember 3 things from this webinar, it should be that Avanan can protect any cloud with any security in one click. The Avanan Cloud Security Platform is cloud-based security as a service solution that connects to any SaaS or infrastructure as a service via public API and private proprietary integrations. This integration provides both real-time and historical information about every user, every file, every event, and policy configuration. It also gives extremely powerful and granular control over your data and its users, whether they belong to your organization or not. We can see and set policy for all the third-party SaaS and cloud apps a user might want to connect. We can set rules for your partner and collaborator connections to prevent data leakage and the spread of malware. We can correlate policy across multiple SaaS and monitor them all in a single pane of glass. So let's pause for a moment. Gartner suggests that when researching and comparing cloud security solutions, we apply the 4 pillars of security: visibility, compliance, data security, and threat protection. So let's first take a look at visibility. Avanan's integration offers the most complete visibility into your cloud. Again, every user, every file, email, and data store. We can correlate and control the permissions policy to provide true cloud context. For example, if a user uploads a sensitive file into a folder that only she and her group have access, this might be okay by policy. But if a year later she decides to change the permissions of that folder to include someone else that should not see that file inside, it would be considered a violation. It's that context that's important. If an employee uploads a benign file to an open share one day and then pastes confidential data a few weeks later, this too would be a violation, not easily understood without that full context. We can see and control access. In fact, every user and file change right now and historically. We once discovered an Excel spreadsheet with donor credit cards in an open share, but a quick review of all history over the last 14 months revealed no access events. In other words, no harm, no foul, no very expensive fine. To complete our visibility and control, we've partnered with all the major application firewalls to provide the same shadow IT visibility and granular controls you would expect from a proxy, but without having to put another service in line to your traffic. So when we look at the visibility pillar, we found that the API model of cloud management provides the most robust real-time and historical information. This is why every cloud security vendor is moving towards this model. The real differentiator, however, is in the other 3 pillars. While we work very hard to make our API cloud integration second to none, we also know that no one company can be the best at all things. This is why we've partnered with over 60 of the industry's top vendors to provide the most advanced compliance, data security, and threat protection tool on the market. Avanan is truly a cloud security platform. Some have called us security as a service or even a security app store. In short, we seek out the best security technology in every category. We then take each vendor's product and create pre-configured, zero management versions of their core technology and cloudify them. We take each engine and normalize the data so that it can be tightly integrated both into the platform, but also with one another, working in parallel. You can add additional layers of security without additional latency or management. Customers can find, compare, and deploy them in one click to determine what meets their needs. Or we offer extremely cost-effective bundled solutions that we are constantly testing to ensure they provide the best security. We call it the matrix. Here, you can select from brand names you know or next-gen vendors you've never heard of to find the best in anti-phishing, antivirus, malware sandboxing, predictive malware detection, file standardization, data leak protection, encryption, endpoint compliance, access control, shadow SaaS and shadow IT, and SIM integration. In fact, we are still adding new categories today. In just a few seconds, you can choose the SaaS or infrastructure as a service that you would like to protect. We use a secure OAuth tokenized API connection that takes just a few seconds to connect. We see real-time information immediately, and we begin analyzing historical files and events, which may take a few hours or days depending upon how long you've had your SaaS account. For example, we can look in your email inbox and outbox to find malicious messages that might have led to a breach long before we arrived. Every customer can try one or all of the security tools in every category with a 2-week trial to determine what works best for their environment. What amazes most of our vendors is how we can make the various products work together so seamlessly. Again, you never see the product interface. Everything is managed invisibly via the Avanan dashboard. For example, if you're using semantic DLP to identify confidential information, you can protect your data using Microsoft Selective File Encryption. If, for some reason, you decide to start using Checkpoint's data classification, you don't need to change the policy. The events from each engine are normalized so that they inform one another independent of the vendor. You can deploy multiple security solutions, and again, because they all work in parallel, there's no additional latency when you add another tool. More importantly, we have a machine learning algorithm that can take the results of multiple tools and interpret them to both increase the detection rate and reduce the false positives. All of this is deployed in one click. Notice here that you can deploy, for example, anti-phishing across more than just email. Perhaps there are malicious URLs embedded in a shared PDF, or maybe someone's transferring malware via a Slack channel. For most of our vendors, this is the only way to deploy their technology in the cloud. We are their cloud solution. And even for those security vendors that do offer a cloud version of their product, this is the only way to deploy their solution across all your cloud and to create a full security stack. Again, no single vendor can be the best at all things. So let's go back to these pillars of cloud security. For compliance, we partner with all the trusted names in data classification and policy. This is important because data classification is hard and requires a lot of tuning to make it work. Even though some cloud solutions might offer basic DLP tools, you would never be able to apply the rules across all your SaaS. And even if some CASBs offer DLP, it's just not reasonable to deploy multiple DLP vendors across your company. If you've already deployed DLP and data classification across your enterprise, you can be rest assured that in just a few minutes, we can spin up exactly the same product you're using in your network and apply exactly the same policies. If you tune your network and server rules, they will automatically update across all your cloud. Now, we partner with all the SIM reporting tools so that you can monitor and report on your cloud using exactly the same products you use to monitor and manage your own network. In short, you can treat all your SaaS and the Avanan security stack as just another data center. When it comes to data security, the Avanan platform offers a rich data security policy manager that lets you apply automated policies across all your SaaS. But I'd like to talk about one aspect of it, encryption. It seems that every encryption vendor wants to be your only encryption vendor. Like DLP, it's a challenge to have more than one encryption product deployed across your enterprise. This is why we partner with all the most popular rights management and encryption companies to automate the data security workflow within your product of choice. But where Avanan can really make a difference in protecting your data is with threat protection. With no exaggeration, we can say that it is impossible to provide a more complete, best-of-breed threat solution. This is because we've gathered both the biggest names in the industry as well as the new next-generation tools. The secret to threat protection is having a variety of detection technologies. Every algorithm has its strengths and its weaknesses, but in combination, they can provide complete protection. Attackers specifically write their code to bypass particular engines, so if you only have one layer, they are very likely to get through. We are constantly looking for new vendors and next-gen capabilities. There really is no such thing as better technology, only different technology. Take a look at this table. It represents the catch rate of various categories of malware protection on a given day in which we saw over 4,000 malicious emails. Notice that sandboxing costs most of the malware, 79%. Does this make it better? Not really, because it missed over 20%. Maybe it just caught the easy ones, or maybe those 20% were specifically written to bypass that particular brand of detection. Or maybe the sandboxing tool was designed to catch some types of attacks and not others, like phishing. So at the bottom we see anomaly detection. Is anomaly detection the worst form of detection? It only caught 19% of all the attacks. But if you look, it caught 5 attacks that completely bypassed the top sandboxing, AI, AV, and phishing tools on the market. This is why we offer cost-effective bundled tools that truly can provide the industry's best protection. So once we build the security stack, the Avanan dashboard is the single pane of glass that allows you to understand all of your cloud in one place. Beyond just preventing malware or phishing or shadow IT or data leakage, you can centralize policy and reporting. You can create policies that apply to just one SaaS or across all your SaaS in a way that would be impossible would you try to do it within each cloud's management tool. More importantly, we can respond to an event with an interactive workflow that allows the user to self-remediate without the need for IT to be involved. 99% of policy violations occur in just a moment of inattention of even the most well-intentioned users. So this is the best way to prevent accidental violations and educate the user at the time of the event. The Avanan platform centralizes every cloud event and security decision in one place. One of my favorite features is the ability to also search instantly across all cloud for a particular file or email for which I personally have permissions. In the search bar, the Avanan platform has gathered the metadata for all the files, and in one click, if I have permissions, I can open that file. So in the time I have left, I would like to provide an example of where the power of the platform has made a tremendous difference for our customers. Email. Why email? Because most attacks start in the inbox. Phishing, malware, ransomware. Over 90% of breaches last year started with email. CASB solutions do not offer email protection. Email MTA gateways only protect inbound and outbound and not internal email. And more importantly, they don't protect other cloud communication types like Slack or Skype and so on. But most importantly, today's attacks require the full resources of the security industry, It is just not possible to trust one vendor to protect against all attacks. And today, the hacker's target is your cloud. So Avanan's API integration is completely out of band, but because of our tight integration with our SaaS partners, we can do things that would otherwise seem impossible. For example, we've patented a virtual inline capability that allows us to sit between Microsoft's own servers and security services and the user's inbox. This makes a few things possible. For example, we can monitor inbound, outbound, and internal email. This is otherwise invisible to gateways and user proxies. We can test, quarantine, encrypt, sanitize, or even edit an email before it hits the user's inbox. We can inform the user of a problem right there in the email, or we can prevent the email from reaching the inbox in the first place. So here's an example of the power of that integration. Recently, at one customer, we went back in time for a year or two to find a dormant Trojan and actually a couple of malicious files that might have been opened months ago to find a source of an attack before we had even been deployed. In this case, it was in a disabled account for an employee that had long left the company. With this virtual inline capability, we can add multiple layers of security and analyze them in parallel. Anti-phishing, antivirus, sandboxing, URL analysis, file standardization, DLP, and encryption. These are capabilities that are only possible via close integration with the SaaS provider. Because I have a couple minutes left, I'd like to look at another form of intrusion detection that goes beyond file and email analysis. What if one of your users loses his credentials via a third-party breach or even a stolen Post-it note? There is no email or malware to detect. The account is compromised the old-fashioned way. In the same way that your desktop malware tools look for suspicious function calls or network connections or memory writes, within your desktop OS, Avanan monitors every SaaS event to identify a compromised account in the cloud. We assume that we won't see the actual compromised event. This actually might be the very first and the very last line of defense. We look for anomalous behavior based upon a profile that we've built from each user's event history that we capture on the first connection. We don't have to wait months. We have years of history available across all SaaS services. Should a user lose their credentials, we can identify the compromised account and respond immediately. Over time, we have identified the most typical behaviors of an attack after they've gained access, especially the automated tools. While phishing attacks have become more and more sophisticated, we found that the post-attack use of the compromised credentials have not. We've used this knowledge to go back in time to identify breaches that might have taken place months or even years before we were deployed. More importantly, when we see this behavior, we can trigger a response immediately and undo malicious actions before it has a chance to spread. The Avanan Cloud Security Platform is the most comprehensive, easiest to deploy cloud security solution. Again, if you remember anything from this presentation, it's this: any cloud, any security, one click.